One of the first things which I remember after coming to London was how Brits were so religiously devoted to reading a book, be it the local GP, bus stations, or the tube for that matter. I saw how people were so devoted to reading any book rather than having the phone on their hand. And this phenomenon took me to my time in this West Indian city in Mumbai, basically, where people in the local trains over there as well had one or the other kind of book to make use of their time, be it in astronomy or accounting for that matter. People had one or the other book and they were so equipped to read it. This specific phenomenon, and of course coming to the UK, made me turbocharge my reading habit as well. And I found myself be a native to all kinds of beautiful bookstores over here. And I thank the Brits for turbocharge my reading habits. And one more aspect about London which I loved was multiculturalism. Say, looking at how Rachel Zegler's Evita play was well received by people from all cultures, all age, made me feel so privileged to be in this country. And it also helped me understand how multiculturalism is important. However, in 2025, I have moved to a small town in Hertfordshire, and raise the flag is the theme over here. So let's say multiculturalism isn't exactly the strongest suit. So this whole campaign that's going on at the moment made a nagging itch in me to understand what has ever been India's contribution to the United Kingdom. Just forget United Kingdom, what has India's contribution be to the whole world for that matter? Because when I think about the history of India, I can only think about my academic history, and academic history's main focus, which is high school history in India's main focus has been about the British East India Company. Of course, I don't regret reading about it. It's for all the right reasons. However, it has also helped me form a very pitiable narrative about the country, and I was keen to know what else is there to the history of India beyond the colonial aspect. And that's when I came across this beautiful book. So I was quite keen to understand how India has affected not just the Western world, but the whole world for that matter. The only problem which I had with this specific book was it is written by a Westerner at end of the day. But this Westerner, his name is William Dalrymple, and although I've heard great things about him, I did have my own doubts because Westerners do tend to whitewash history, especially when it comes to India. Caste violence and violence towards women has always been whitewashed, and I wasn't too sure if this was the book that I wanted to read. If not for this white guy, I was left with these white guys, and I was like, you know what? Rather than believing these historians from the far right, let me go forward and choose Mr. William Dalrymple. And I thank the stars for choosing him because it did help me understand how the Indian subcontinent has shaped not just the Western country or Europe for that matter, but the whole of our earth as a universe. And I'm going to share three of my key favorite exports from India. First, the concept of STEM or mathematics has got a huge rooting in India because the concept of zero was found by this guy. His name is Aryabhatta, and of course from him it transferred to the Islamic kingdoms where Fibonacci eventually met, and we all do know how Fibonacci series has impacted our lives and how much it has impacted not just lives but STEM in general. Second, the concept of chess. Chess or Shatrang was found in India, played by kings, and of course it found its way to the Islamic world, and today we know what kind of a modern phenomenon it is, and thanks to India for one of the key exports through this game. And third, which is my favorite export, is religion. I admit my defeat. I didn't exactly realize that Buddhism and Hinduism, for that matter, was born in India. I did know that Hinduism was born in India, but not necessarily Buddhism. And of course, it transferred to Southeast Asia. And one of the things which I like about Southeast Asia is they took the aspects of Hinduism and Buddhism, say this is the biggest temple, this is Cambodia, and this is the Angkor Wat. This is the biggest Hindu temple in the world. And it's not built by Indians, it's built by commerce. And one aspect which I liked about Southeast Asians adopting Hinduism or Buddhism is they got rid of all the ugly bits like vegetarianism, associating purity to vegetarianism, and of course, otherization of women and caste concept. These ugly bits were removed out and they took the concept of religion for what it is. And I really love that about it. That also helped me realize how India has gained its strength historically through multiculturalism, and cultural syncretism has helped us set the shape in science, art, culture, and why even religion for that matter. Now, when I think about the current times in India, say where Hindu chauvinistic nationalism seems to be the key theme of expressing one's Indian identity, it makes me feel really sad, because what was once a country that took pride in secularism, that took pride in adopting various cultures and setting the scene in many landscapes, including arts, science, and literature for that matter, is slowly moving towards ethnofascism. And I do hope my fellow Indians come out of this mess they've put themselves in. However, this also brings me to the idea at the moment where in the United Kingdom, where nationalism seems to be on the rise. India and the United Kingdom have shared history, and India is still spreading ideas, but albeit in what sense are they spreading the ideas? Thank you.